Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. How bad do you think dentistry is in Scotland? Well, to be fair, it's never been good. My father-in-law from Greenock, he said that when he was a young man in his early 20s, he went to the dentist and had all his teeth pulled out simply because that's what you did back then. You took them out and then you put falsies in and then you'd never have problems with your teeth again. I was horrified. I was horrified when he told me this. And yet here we are in modern day 21st century Scotland, and in fact that's probably the best thing you can do with today's dentistry in Scotland, because A, trying to find a dentist is more or less impossible. If you do find one, the chances are you'll have to wait before you can get onto the NHS lists. You have the option of going private, but you know, who the hell's got the money for that? Sure, some have, but a lot of people, most people won't. And so if you are fortunate then to get it, even then, when you have to pay, you're still paying a fortune, even with your NHS fees being lower than private. And for the sake of it, you'd be better off going private because you get a better service and better quality stuff. And so maybe going back to that, pulling all your teeth out at 21 and having the falsies put in, may be the future. It's got to be better than what you have. Let's have a look. Now, I must also mention my grandfather, who has been dead many a long year now, of course, but he also had all his teeth pulled out as a young man, had the dentures put in. He was from Northern Ireland, and he said, no, it was a normal thing. He said, because, you just got them out and that was it. You never had problems with your teeth again. But it's a horrifying thing to think that in a modern, like I say, in a modern world, that is now the preferred option. And you can't blame people. Scots being forced to travel abroad for dental work due to the government neglect. People are being forced to go to India or even do the work themselves due to the difficulty in accessing dentistry services in Scotland. Now, I had a toothache about 18 months ago or so, and it happened to be over a long weekend, and it was the Friday or whatever. I couldn't get in anywhere, and I was in absolute agony. In the end, I was on tramadol. I was taking tramadol like Smarties, trying to overcome this toothache. Tuesday morning, banging on the door, emergency. They got in and they just went, wow, and they just pulled it out. Got the gap there, just out it came. And I was like, oh God almighty, and I can understand why you just get them pulled when it's there. I mean, it's like, you just cut my head off. It's that much pain. Honestly, I had a whole weekend on tramadol just for a toothache. It was great once the tramadol cut in. Anyway, if you have trouble accessing an NHS dentist in Scotland, and it has seen Scots travel to countries like India for treatment. The Scottish Liberal Democrats have said Willie Rennie has accused Scottish Minister of excruciating neglect, as he claims more than 300 constituents have come forward about their concerns in a number of days. And this is just in Willie Rennie's constituency, of course. So this will be multiplied across the whole of the country. He said one constituent said that they had resorted to do-it-yourself dentistry with tools purchased on Amazon after being on an NHS waiting list for 4 years. Other respondents referenced travelling abroad, with one saying they now see a dentist in Goa in India and another travelling to Turkey for checkups and treatment after their local practice closed. Now, there's plenty of practices of dentists now, but dentists are more or less going private. And the reason being that, they make more money. It's all money. If you had a skill and knowledge, you're gonna maximise your earnings. I don't blame them. I don't blame the dentist for wanting to earn money. But I do think if they are going to have a licence to practice privately, that they must offer X number of NHS places, whatever it is, just to give a chance, because certain people will just never ever be able to afford private dentistry. Anyway, the Scottish Liberal Democrats will lead a debate in Holyrood on Wednesday on the crisis in the dentistry sector. Mr Reddy said other respondents highlighted the expensive cost of private treatment, spending almost £400 on x-rays, 2 fillings and cleaning. That's how much this stuff costs. You could, of course, take dentistry insurance That's a thing. Apparently, I don't. Ahead of the parliamentary debate, I'm presuming it's a debate one can get his teeth into, Mr. Rennie said, the devastating stories expose the SNP's excruciating neglect of NHS dentistry. No matter how much pain you're in, seeing a dentist in Scotland is harder than ever before. You do have to bite the bullet when paying, though. Scottish Liberal Democrats have long campaigned for tooth care to be universally accessible, just like any other kind of healthcare. I quite agree. I absolutely agree. There is nothing worse. Like I say, I was on the tramadol. There's nothing worse than toothache because you can't get to the pain. I've actually tangent time. I actually knew a guy, Stuart, was it? Anyway, his name is unimportant. Don't know why I'm telling you that. He sat at work, and I remember watching him at work. And I was sitting in an office, and he'd been glum. He'd been sitting there, and it's almost cartoony. And it came out like that, and he was in absolute agony. Anyway, one of the engineers came into the office, and he said, "Oh, can we get your van? Get your van." And anyway, they went out, and about 5 minutes later, they walked back in, and his blood poured from his mouth. He went into the bathroom, he's shoving all this cotton in. He said, "What happened?" He said, "Did he smack you one? Did he hit you?" He went, No. He says, "I just went out to his van. I pulled his pliers and went and pulled his own tooth out." I can't even begin to tell you how awful that must be, but he must have been in absolute pain. To just get the pliers, and he just went there and and pulled his own tooth out. I was like, just go home. I just sent him home. You know, like, you can't imagine it, and yet people do that. They absolutely. That's the only time. It's the only time I've ever seen anyone do it. But you hear of stories, and it's horrifying that people actually are resorting to it. Anyway, Willie Rennie, getting back. Sorry about the tangent. Getting back. Rennie's continuing. He says, this time, I sincerely hope that the government does the right thing and backs our motion, which would see ministers rewrite their failed NHS recovery plan to prioritise workforce planning and boost the number of dentists taking on NHS patients. Yeah, like I say, I think the only way to do it is that every private dentist, in order to have the licence to practice private dentistry, must give up, say, 1 day a week to NHS dentistry. Make that the rule. Charlotte Waite, Director of British Dental Association, said the crisis in this service has seen desperate patients take matters into their own hands or head overseas for care that should be available in their own communities. Oh boy, yeah. Scottish Government unveiled some reforms back in November, and time will tell if it's enough to turn the tide so that those who want and need NHS care can secure it. Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be enough. It really isn't. And what do? You either, like I say, for my mate, he pulled the tooth out, or you just do what I did and use increasingly powerful narcotics. But then you can't function. Tramadol's brilliant if it gets you over a weekend, but you can't use tramadol if you're at work, or driving or anything. Don't use tramadol, kids. It's really powerful and good. Anyway, I shall round off there. I shall come up and we'll move on to the next story. But it is a terrible state of affairs because you've seen the queues. Sorry, I will finish. You've seen the queues where they go, "Oh, we're opening a new dentist," and the queues are down the street. That's how bad it is. Anyway, coming up. So what do? India? You're going to go to India just to get your teeth fixed? Wow. I suppose for a big operation, if you're having a lot of work done, it probably, even with the flights and accommodation, it could work out cheaper. But, India? It's a long way to go. I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the like button. Do please hit the subscribe button. Ring the bell. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Please share the video. And brush your teeth twice a day, kids. Bye.